welcome back to the Retro RPG Roundtable. I'm Megan Lemmert, lead developer of the Apple II RPG Nox Archaeast, also available on Steam and Good Old Games. And we have a couple of new developers with us here today. So we're going to go around the round table and just give you a quick introduction. Who would like to go next?
I'll go. Hi, I'm Adam Haas. I'm the developer of Realms of Antiquity for the TI 99 4A platform, originally released in 1981. The game was released in 2020. It is available on Steam, GOG, and itch.io, as well as my good friend Arcade Shopper's website, if you don't want to support any kind of corporate guys.
Awesome.
Sure. I'm the other Adam, Adam Burr, otherwise known as Golden Flame. I am hopefully finishing up Chronicles of Eleusis, The Dark Unknown. If I'm lucky, look for it on Steam and maybe GOG later this year.
Excellent.
Okay. I'm Emmanuel, so I'm the developer of Andoria, and it's been working on it for quite a while. It's for the Apple II platform, and I'm not really sure when it will have the final version ready. But in the meantime, there is a demo version available for anybody to give it a try.
I guess I'm Jeff, also known as Distant Systems. I'm the developer of Mythfarer for the Tandy Color Computer 3 with 128K. I'm in the deep depths of development at the moment. You can wishlist on Steam, but I don't expect it to release for another year at the very earliest. More likely two. So.
I'm Jason Cook. I authored Tower and Dragon. I'm currently working. The game is pretty much done, but I'm working on all the infrastructure, website, Steam, putting awards in where that is relayed from the emulator and automatically put into Steam so that people are, getting what they're used to when running Steam. That's me.
Excellent. Well, thanks everyone for the quick intros. And today we're going to make the main focus talking about Emmanuel and Jason's respective projects. They've got some really exciting stuff going on there, and this is the first time they're coming on the show here, now having joined the Roundtable group. So we definitely want to take a deep dive into what they're doing. Which one of you would like to go first to talk about your project in detail?
I can go first.
Jason?
Do you mind if I screen share?
Sure, go ahead. I may just need to hit a permission on that quick. Or go if you have a button, go ahead and do it, and I think it'll give me a prompt actually.
I've got to figure out how to screen share.
Got it. Yeah, there's usually just like a button that says share in the cluster of buttons next to like the chat button and the reaction button, depending on what Zoom interface you're using.
This is on a Mac.
Okay, I'm on a Mac as well. So for me,
I got it.
it's like,
I got it.
Okay, got it. There we go.
Okay, so can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No.
Did I miss something? Let me try again. Share. Allow. How about now?
Oh, yay. There we go.
Okay, and let me make this bigger. So this, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but this is where it started. I found this old computer. I never expected to get it running because it was in such bad shape. As I mentioned before, it had roots growing on it. This is after it was cleaned up, preliminary cleaning. It was in really bad shape. Check that out, the amount of rust on the flyback. So I just started breaking it down. I ordered a replacement motherboard And this is where I ended up getting, I was surprised that the monitor actually worked with how bad the electronic components were in it. That's the actual motherboard for the computer sitting there. And I have, Future was 8-bit. They had a replacement motherboard. So I was using that because I never expected to get it running. This was the first sign of life. This is after I did a lot of cleanup, replaced the capacitors, and I ended up getting it up to 6143 bytes free, which was basically one chipset not working. And as I mentioned, it ended up coming down to one chip. Let me open this in a new tab, and we'll go over here. So as you can see on the left, it's pretty ugly. But by the right, I added heat sinks because, again, this is a treasure. Once these things go, they're gone. So adding heat sinks, I saw as critically necessary to preserve this relic computer. And let me see. I'll go back here. And this, I just wanted it because this is where my story began on programming. This was in August of 2022, so almost 4 years ago. And I decided to go all out, sanded it all down, and I put a highly reflective, that's my painting ability there. So I polished it to insanity. Everything else I made look like a regular pet, but I wanted at least something reflective on it. So there's my mirror surface paint job. Massive amounts of rust. This was probably stored in a shed. Then I sanded it down, primered, sanded again to smooth it out. They had something taped on this side. It wasn't there by the time I got it, but the rust behind it was there. So I didn't, I tried to pull off the front emblem, and I knew that it would ruin it. So at that point, I just covered it up with blue tape and started stripping it down, got rid of all the rust. And in the end, I'm going to scroll way down here. The final is the beautiful piece of art you see here. And it's one of those two chips that's bad. I can't remember which, but I replaced it with one from, I think, 1980. I found a chip supplier on eBay where they have overstock. And the reason why I bring this computer up is, I could barely program BASIC when I first got this. And then I learned everything about computers and, arrays and all that. I programmed this all the way to what my limits were. I made depth charge, game on it, all in Commodore BASIC. Machine language was way beyond a 12-year-old. And so I was then like, well, what can I program on it now? I had a career in assembly language. I wrote a whole bunch of graphics drivers and hardware ROMs in the education industry on Apple IIs. So leveraging that, I came out and started programming on this game. And I started with code that I had written for the Apple II in 1980. This editor that you see here was written in 1980, but this is a modern game map from my current game. What I do is I export it from the Apple II, okay, and then I coerce it into the proper mechanics to run on this extremely memory restricted computer. I wanted it to all run in 8K. So I have an 8-hour full-fledged RPG adventure that is, made for the Commodore PET and it can run just from a tape cassette. Okay. When I was testing this, I found the tape cassette frustrating because, you've got limited time and you need to test it over and over. And the ROMs on this are broken because their first iteration, their ROM 1 systems, the disk I/O had a few bugs. And I do say a few bugs because people think that it was critically broken, and it wasn't. Okay. And so what I did is I wrote a software patch that went into tape buffer for cassette 2. Okay. And it fixes the ROM so that they can actually run from disk drive. And then I got a Wi-Fi disk drive system that's in the back. It's just a small little component that plugs into the IEEE interface. And so then I've got it on the network, and made it incredibly fast for me to test and debug on the original hardware. So a lot of fun stuff. That all started, as I mentioned, around 4 years ago. I came out with a version 1.0, which I released for free. And it was really pushing what I thought the limits were. There was no animated monsters. There was the character, your avatar was not animated. And I continued working on it. And I released a 2.0 and a 3.0 within about a year and a half. And by the time 3.0 came out, everything was animated except for the player character. And I thought that that was my end limit. I didn't think I'd be able to go any further. And I tried to share this on Lost Sectors, and I just couldn't remember how to bring up the memory map. And now I do. So I'm going to see if I can't. Okay, so here we go. So, you have your memory maps and they show reserve space, of course, and this has to run on every computer. How can I move this? This needs to go over here. Okay. So the problem is that, you've got all these different ROMs. Okay. And I need to find 0-page locations that work on them all to make my life a lot easier, that are free, so that I can program the game and not have all kinds of different, versions. Okay. And just this alone, while the memory map is nice, it doesn't help enough to see where there's free memory. Okay. And this is Norbert Landsteiner's interface. This is at masswork.at. He's got a whole bunch of vintage computers that are there, or 4 or 5. And then I'm talking ancient stuff. Okay. So what he did is he put this memory map in here. Okay. And this, I started looking at, notice when I hover over, you can see the hovering, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. When I hover over this, you can see where there's free space. Okay. And by seeing it in this type of representation, I was able to go, aha, they say it's reserved, but it really isn't. Okay. Or at least it isn't when I'm using a cassette or disk drive. There's not much of the ROMs that I actually use. Okay. And you go, well, Jason, you've got a whole bunch of zeros here. You're obviously not using those. Au contraire, that's because the fog of war hasn't filled up yet for the zone. Okay, so pretty much by the time that you're done, and if you notice, it's all the way to the very end here of my 8K. I use every piece of that. And of course, this is the ROM stuff down here, and then that's the IO area. So this little memory map, you wouldn't think it would be a big deal, but without this, 4.0 would have never existed. And I decided I was going to push all kinds of boundaries. I didn't have spells in this. I didn't have directional spells, obviously. So I put in directional spells that both the monsters and the player could cast. I've added a buff spell for the character. The zones are incredibly unique. And there's constant surprises where you didn't expect, or I really hope as you play it, you go, well, how the heck did he do that? You know, because with only 8K, you wouldn't think you'd be able to accomplish as much depth. It looks like it's at least a 32K, if not 48K game based off of it. On the disk drive, this operates with around, I think, 8K of memory, or I'm sorry, 80, less than 80K of disk capacity is needed to actually play this. Okay, and then let me go over to Steam real fast. And I've got to move this again. Let me just minimize it. Okay, and I'll go to the library. I'm not going to show all the rewards because a lot of them are a surprise. But I tried to make, awards. There's 25 of them total. Several of them are hidden. And basically those go from me peeking into the emulator's memory and seeing when you complete specific tasks or pass certain things, like when your gold goes over 100 or 1,000, or you reach level 10 or 5. So I wanted to get this integration. Another thing I wanted to do, and it's probably because, Megan said it, and I'm gonna steal the quote. But basically, when I started making this, I didn't know if only one or two people would be interested, and I'm quite proud that I have tens of people interested in my program. In hopes that I get more, I have a lot of support for this program, meaning I made this where it's playable on a standard game controller, like the PS5 one. And I also made it so that it's playable on a Steam Deck. So if you're working with those smaller devices, it should feel more like a Game Boy experience on steroids with the amount of details and stuff that are in there. For a little bit more background, for the scenario or the campaign that this game runs, I borrowed quite a bit from my Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which started roughly the same time that I got a Commodore PET, so around 1980. As I went through high school and then college, and then after college, I continued to play that Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And whenever I had a new group of people, instead of starting over, I basically added and embellished, added more complexity to the scenario, and more complexity to the storyline. While you can only cover so much with just less than 80K of memory, I think that the story speaks for itself. I think that you'll enjoy it. It does have some happy parts and then some parts that are you expect to win, and you may not be able to. Any questions, comments?
Well, first off, well done. Magnificent, honestly. I was gonna say the pet must have a metal chassis, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, that actually helps because the biggest issue with plastic chassis is they discolor. And I know that there's a YouTube guy who goes all through how you can restore the original color, uh, chemically, for a lot of that stuff. But like that's actually kind of a relief. All you had to do is scour off rust, and it still was the same color.
Yeah, and I'm lucky it didn't have any dents in it, and I did have to sand it to the metal in a few places. So I tried to duplicate the colors as well as I could, through the color detection technology.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm quite proud of that pet.
Yeah. And then I'm also really impressed you managed to get Steam achievements. That's like the guys go crazy for those. And like Realms of Antiquity runs in a very good TI emulator called Classic 99, created by Mike Brent. And I never could figure out how I could even start that. And part of it is also that his the Classic 99 is his old C++ version. Like he's got a second version of it that's been sitting around forever that he's been tinkering with. But like at some point, I was like, I would really love it if I could do Steam achievements. I just don't see how, you know.
Yeah,
So that's
you may
interesting.
want to try contacting them, see
Oh,
if
yeah, I could talk to him about it. I kind of am reluctant to, just because if I say anything like faulty, like oh, there's a little problem here, like he'll go like I'm not fixing that, and then suddenly he's spent overnight fixing it, and it's like I don't I don't want to put him out on something like that. But the Steam achievements is really awesome because then people really love that. Like
thank you.
and it ties it better to the Steam platform as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I saw that your game on Discord, and I wrote a comment about it. It's really amazing, because all you have is some character set, and you have to use your imagination to match them and into shaping something like castles and forest and the whole thing. And if we go back in time, like early '80s and even well, I should say late '70s, because the pad was released in 1977, along with the Atari 2600, where they had some games, but all those games they lacked depth because the computer, those machines, those consoles had very little RAM and they didn't have a keyboard, so they were just games that were kind of redundant in some ways. And I think adventure games, they came to add depth, to gaming, the way we knew it at the time. And many of us had a passion, not all, but many of us had. And your game really, it sounds like the game that would have been like incredible at the time on a so primitive machine. And a so primitive machine, you do something like when you think about 8 KB, it's barely a vulgar text file today on a PC, and yet you make a whole adventure game on that. That's the amazing thing. And I think it's incredible that many of those machines were as simple as they were. They were able to, as soon as you had someone with some that wanted to do that, some developing, they were able to go and do something like that. So really, congratulations.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty amazing. I mean, I never expected it to go as far with only 8K. Part of it is because I've become so obsessed, and the amount of optimization that was necessary. Sometimes I had to walk away for over a month. It just becomes frustrating and tedious, especially when you're reviewing the same code for the 10th or 11th time, the entire code base, to get it to run just so that you can save a few bytes here and there,
I believe you.
And
Yeah.
I've also got this where it's playable from from the website. So for the Kickstarter users, they'll have a lot of options for how to play. I'm including for the Kickstarter users ability to play from Steam because a lot of people have that, but I didn't want to constrict it to just that. So I've also got the disc image. I've got tape cassette. It takes 4 different tape cassettes. Some of the tape cassettes are less than 10 minutes of recording, and some of them go close to 15. I tried to make it so that it's easy for you to switch between them, and they're smart breakpoints in the story so that people that are trying to play on that original hardware don't become frustrated. And so I've also got the wave bios and tap. Tap is a compressed wave pretty much for the Commodore platforms. It even works with the C64s. Obviously, this game won't run on a C64. Although someday maybe.
I have a question for you, Jason.
Yes.
So did I understand correctly that you're creating your maps and other content on an Apple II computer and then piping that content from there into the 8K PET?
Yes, that's correct. Through some modern development, I compress it down and rebuild it where it's in my Commodore PET architecture.
Awesome. I just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly, because that is really quite a ironic turn from what I was doing with the Apple II, which was developing the content on a modern computer, Mac or Windows, and then converting it, exporting it into the Apple II format. So and you're like taking this to another level. You're actually developing the content on the Apple II, being the more powerful computer of the two, and then exporting it into the PET. So that really just blew my mind when you said that. That is really awesome.
And it's using code that I wrote in around 1980. So this code for this map here is from an old game that I wrote called Explorer back from 1980 that allowed me to map out using low resolution graphics. Okay.
That's really awesome. You've done a really great job with this.
Yeah.
So, and to add to it, okay, the map that you see here, other than me just changing it, this map that you actually see on my screen was made in 1980. Okay. It didn't have all this, these different colors here. It was basically just, red. You see this orange for monsters and for doors. It didn't have all these different color variations, which are used for torches and, all kinds of different things, tables and chairs, etc. But the gold that you see here was, for the most part, in the exact locations of my original game that I wrote called Explorer. So there's, I believe, 15 or 16 zones in the game. And 4 of those go all the way back to 1980. Okay. And that's the whole reason why you see this written on the Apple, is I wanted to bring that legacy forward of that original game that I wrote in 1980. It was unfortunately the actual source for the game that corrupted, so I don't have the actual source code for the game. But I'm so glad that I still had the data, for the maps and the actual the map maker. So yeah, that's how this came to be. Otherwise, I would have probably used something more modern than an Apple II. I would have just used my regular development environment as I have now, or I would have built something, in a much higher interface. But because I had that prosperity and being able to go back in time, I figured why not do that? So.
I was looking up some stats on the Commodore PET. Apparently, they said they only sold 219,000 of them. So having a functioning working machine is in 2026 is actually really impressive. I wonder how many are actually running out there now.
Yeah, I can't imagine many. They're very hard to find. I mean, you've got a few on eBay, and I've, you know, watched it over the past couple of years since I got mine, and I see the same ones listed for sale. So,
Yeah, they're
so
having
I
trouble
agree.
moving
There's
them.
not many.
And you found this one where?
This one I found on eBay, and I never expected to get it working. And honestly, I paid too much for a non-working computer, but it became priceless the moment I got it working. So I'm really glad I picked it up.
Yeah, yeah. I also see that they said you could expand the RAM to 32K. I'm not sure if how. I'm imagining did they leave spots for you to add more RAM chips, or do you just
There
put
were many releases. There were many releases of the Commodore PET. That the first one was more simple with like 4 KB. Could be
Yeah.
expanded to 8, but then later it was like 32 KB. They had some commercial issues, like so they didn't sell many because first of all the chiclet keyboard didn't get a good reception, and I think that those integrated computers that came with everything all together, they always had problems. Like the TRS-80, it sold like for more for like business purpose, but at the end they always had some problems, to selling that in big volume. It take a lot of room, something like that.
So
Yeah, no.
on this original one, basically this thing here is the entire bus. And so what they would do is you would end up plugging in a ribbon cable here and it would fold inward. And you would have a whole nother board that was just memory that sat on top of this. Now, I didn't know anyone that did that. Everyone just ran this with 8K and this tape cassette up here. But I think that more business users or people that were adults rather than kids, it it just stayed 8K. There was nowhere for expansion on this actual board, but they left that for as an opening so that you could add more memory through adding another board.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now there's all sorts of eclectic weird things. I remember with the TRS-80 color computer, aside from the fact to get the extended basic, you had to add a chip. And like I guess the 90% of Radio Shack's tech support issues were people putting the chip on it backwards by accident and burning out their motherboard. But then I also remember there was something with their 32K expansion. It was actually a 64K chip, but they blocked half of the memory off so they could sell you the 64K for more money, but there was like a sneaky trick you could use to actually access the extra memory. I don't know, Jeff, you might know more about that than I do.
I don't know. I don't actually remember the Radio Shack having an official expansion for the Coco One. The Coco
Ooh,
3
yeah.
definitely had an extension. I upgraded my own Coco One myself by soldering a second bank of RAM on top of the original bank, and you bend up one chip, the chip select line, wire them all together with a bit of string, and connect that elsewhere on the board. So it's interesting piece of open heart surgery.
And now what you can get is people have made replacements. This is the 6502 here, and you just plug this little teeny board where that would be, and it's basically the whole computer. So if you have bad components back here or up here, it doesn't really matter as long as your video is still working. Then your bus is working to an extent to be able to feed the keyboard and the tape drive. Then you're good to go. And a lot of people do that because it takes some work to get this stuff back. Even if it is all operating.
Jason, would you be able to show us the game running in the emulator without spoilers, or is that something you'd be willing
Absolutely.
to do? I'd love to see it. Yeah.
Okay, so let me. Do you want to see it on Steam?
Sure.
Any way you like. Yes.
Is audio coming through or no?
I don't hear anything.
Usually when
Okay.
you share, you have to specify share audio from your computer.
Okay, so where did I put? Okay, where do I do that?
It's probably under the share button.
And I'm not seeing share. Wait, I'm not in the meeting one.
There's a, like when you first share for the first time, there's a share options and there's a share sound option
Go with
that you
me.
can check box. So
Where is my meeting? It's like I'm out of the meeting.
very
I
cool
don't know where the
animated
meeting
dragon.
went. Okay, so bear with me here. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I can program magic, but obviously I can't master this interface.
So Jake,
That's a,
it might be easiest to just exit out of the screen share so that you see all the meeting options again. And then when you click on share, hopefully be able to see the one for the audio.
Okay,
yeah.
and how do I do that?
Well, I mean, you'd stop sharing the screen
Yeah,
and then
yeah, where
reshare it, and then there should be over in share options. Just there should be a checkbox for share sound.
But to exit the screen share, if you don't see any menus, I guess I'd try clicking or pressing escape maybe. I kind of do it by feel.
uh,
Actually, I suppose I could.
okay, I see. Okay, so stop share. Okay, now I'm back here. Okay, and then I'm going to share settings. Okay, so I see share entire. Okay, share sound. Got it. Yeah, that was probably the easiest. Okay, can you see my screen again?
Yep.
Okay. And I'm going to turn this down.
For a computer with only a speaker, more or less, that's pretty good.
This is thanks to Skyrim. He is just amazing on getting stuff like this to work. So that's thanks to him. I contacted him immediately so that he could convert Stephen Baker's score to run on the Commodore PET. I was getting some reverb, so my apologies on that. I figured that I wouldn't drive you guys nuts. So this is the actual game. And you can see the fog of war in action, and there's an ant. Let me see if I can just go, let's go to E1. These are all the saves, and they automatically go anywhere you want on Steam. So if you've got multiple game systems that are playing Steam, these are automatically relayed to them all. Okay. So I've just loaded where I had completed zone 1. So here's me walking around. Let me show you some animation. Okay, so that monster just attacked me with a range spell. I don't have range spells yet, so that's irritating. Okay, he's probably going to kill me, but I just killed him. These animations that you see for background art like this, okay, it can do up to 4 for monsters, you have up to 8 animations because they have movement animations and then they have attack animations. So this is the actual game and its play. Oh, great, the same exact monster. There's tons of different monsters on a level. And let me go a little bit further just so that you get some feel for it. Let me go to here. Okay, and I'm going to go to zone 2 because it's different. Okay, so now I'm in a raft. Okay, and you can transition. Okay, I can at this point. I killed him fairly easy. I must have already completed this zone. Okay, so I can't get on the land unless I find an actual dock. So I'll show that quick transition. Stuff looks kind of ugly when it's over the water, but you know, it is what it is, especially with the limited amount of graphics that I have. There's a dock right there. So if I go over here, you get the option to switch, and I go yes, and now I am a land walker and I can't go into the water. Okay. So that's, and whenever you get to save points, notice you get the option menu down at the bottom here, okay, where you can save and load. This is just debug code here, okay, and what that's representing is my you know, if I was using a game controller. So it's just the bits so that I can easily tell what the heck is going on, you know, so I can get it debugged and actually working. On a Commodore PET, 8-bit guy along with Tech Select made an adapter card that makes Super Nintendo controllers work with a PET. So I actually can plug in and play this with an Super Nintendo controller on the Commodore PET. And it's great. I actually like it because, you know, who wants to use the chiclet keyboard these days? You know? So is there any other, oh, and there's things like Town. I'll go ahead and show you that real fast. That's where you can buy upgrades and you talk to her. And notice, let me go back there a second. I'm going to exit. Okay. I've got a timestamp here. Again, amazing at what's done in the small 8K footprint. You know, so and continuing that they do talk to you, but again, with a restricted amount of memory, I'm picking up flowers. They always say the same thing. So if you go by the various villages, they'll always say the same thing to you. But if I walk over here, you get to the important person of the zone. And that's Edmund. And he has the stuff you can buy. Okay, and as you, so I can upgrade my main and offhand weapons. These can help quite a bit, and they help even more as you get higher level because they, as he mentions here, if your stat is 14 and higher, he gives it a significant boost. Okay, and so you can go through, purchase your upgrades, and continue on your merry way. This has nice things, like if you're using a touch keyboard or you know, some touch screen. Whoops! I just exited my game. I don't know why I did that. So if I go back in and I show, so I can use this to navigate. If I had a touch screen, I could actually use that. If I were on a phone, your orientation is different, and I automatically adapt it so that your area for play is now small. And so if you are playing this on a tablet or a phone, it's more than playable. In fact, it's a great experience to play on either of those. And for posterity, I do include the old keyboard so that you have your Commodore PET experience, and that does work as well. If I use the various keys, you can see that it's actually moving up there. I can't take credit for the emulator. This is a severely enhanced version of Thomas Skibo's emulator. And I give all the credit so that you can find it and work with it. Norbert Landsteiner, his was originally based off of this, but he's made so many modifications. I know he's switched out things like even the CPU emulator from Thomas Skibo's. I actually emailed Thomas Skibo and made sure I got permission, even though he says you don't need to. I always like to do that anyway. So I made sure I got permission to use his. The audio, multiple file IO, game keyboard support, and other enhancements to fully integrate Tower and Dragon like you see it, where you have all the load and save options. Was all built in or built by me. Any other questions, comments?
I mean, it looks fantastic. Honestly, I would not believe that this runs an 8K at all at a glance. I mean, that's an amazing accomplishment with animation to boot.
Thank you, appreciate it. And if you actually run the D64, it shows no trickery is done. It is running an 8K. So, and I can drop to basic and use CB 7167.
Incredible. Well done.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And I think that's all I have. Hope I didn't bore you too much.
No, not at all.
Thank
Not at
you.
all. Not at all.
And I tried to show a few different things from Lost Sectors, so that I wasn't hitting the same topic matter, because he did a great interview and I appreciate it.
All right, Emmanuel, are you ready to show us your game?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So just wanted to mention how it all started, because it's quite interesting. As I mentioned in the past, I had a Coco 1 where I did a lot of stuff in BASIC. It was a Coco 1 with 16K, but I didn't have any disk drive, no DIMM or nothing, no external software, so I couldn't really do. There was not even an assembly language or like I didn't have access to machine language on the Coco 1 like I did, like you would have easily on the monitor of the Apple II. And even in the Apple II at school or at home, as soon as I got one, I always wanted to write a game, a good one. But in AppleSoft Basic, you could only do what you could do, because it's slow. It's limited, especially in high res. You could make a little pictures, but you can really have like a sprite or something good moving. It was impossible. And at that time, when I was like 12, 13, I didn't have, first of all, there were three things. I didn't have I didn't have the software nor the documentation for Apple II machine language or assembler. I didn't have anyone at school or anywhere that could like coach me how to write something in assembly, how to do it, how to teach me something. And I don't think I had at that time the maturity to write a code in machine language was extremely abstract, So I never did it, and it was my dream, being a really young teenager, to write a good Apple II game. It never happened. And later in 1991, I think, later on, I would say before that, 1980, 88, 89, when I was 17, 18 years old, the 8-bit technology was showing a slowdown, and I didn't really want to learn at the time 6502 assembly because it felt like I would be spending some time on something that would soon go obsolete. And I switched in 1992 to a PC, and the Apple II was left behind by more modern alternatives. And I never came back to the Apple II, but only later on in 2019, I guess, when I was like nearly 50 years old, what I wondered, would I be able today to write a game in assembly? So I downloaded the emulator and I started learning a little bit how it worked. At the beginning, I wanted to see if I could be able to at least have a map like in Ultima 4 and go left and right, north, south, east, in the map and see it move. It just started like that, no ambition whatsoever. And just to draw a little teddy bear, 7 pixels by it's just when you never did anything in assembler, it's really a challenge. To put a small teddy bear on the screen on a high res on the Apple II is really a challenge. Where the address, when you skip one line to the next one. And at the beginning, I nearly give up a couple of times because I couldn't even get my teddy bear exhibited on the screen. But then it did. And I went on and on and on, and then it started looking like Ultima 4. That's what I wanted, to have something. And as it went on, I started to adapt the game to say, well, I want to make some changes, to what it was, So I'm going to share it a little bit and talk about it. So you'll tell if you see. I'm going to share my screen. So it's a video. Oops, sorry. Okay, share screen. So you tell me when you see my screen.
Got it.
Got it.
Okay. Like that. Okay, so that's the entry. I just drew a little castle. I used the software, the application Take One. I don't know if you heard of it. But it helped me to make a little castle at the entry. And here you have the game. So first of all, one idea that I wanted to change is have some more simple things. You don't have like intelligence, dexterity, and all you have is experience, which is XP, and you have health points, gold coins. It's pretty simple. And so I have a horse that I can mount here. I have a little sailboat up there, and the first thing I did is I wanted the player to be faster than the monsters, because I don't want you to be forced to fight if you're not willing to. So even when I have the little monster next to me, what I do is I can run away and I will eventually escape. So you can see how it goes. And first, I wanted it to be quick. You could move quickly. I don't want it to be sluggish. That was when I'm really working here on a authentic speed. Okay, so it's not accelerated. That's the original Apple II speed. One other thing is the Ultima 4. It had just completely squared seas, in between the land, and I want it to be smoother. So you can see that it's smoother around here, and you see the sea moving. Where you have like the border, the literal, of the grass. That's what I sort of wanted. And it actually moves pretty fast, for an Apple II with all that kind of information going on. It moves really, really fast, and this is really the prerequisite I wanted for the game. I want you to be able to go as fast as possible from a place to another. Here I have a raft, so I can board it, and go around anyway. And you can exit the raft. And then you can go into towns. So here I'm going through this, and I go into a town and just enter the town like in Ultima 4. And I really want there to be a lot of animation, like the trees, the torches. I didn't want anything to feel like you don't see anything moving. I wanted water moving, the grass moving. Here I can fill in my gourd, as you can see right here. And you can talk to people. But here I get a message that I have to go to the castle as fast as possible because the equivalent of Lord British, I gave it a different name to try to pretend it's not a complete ripoff. Anyway, so what you do when you start is you go talk to the lord of the main castle of Andoria. That is right here. So I enter here. So far you go in. It's useless to talk to anyone right now because they're going to tell me that Lord Rickard needs to talk to me. So I move here, then I climb the stairs, I go down, and here I have the throne of Lord Rickard. I'll talk to him. He's going to give me a lot of instructions at the beginning. So every time you go to the next level, he's going to give you new instructions, tell you what you're supposed to do, and he's going to help by giving some cash, 300 gold coins. And this is his Lady Fatima, and I did like you did in Orcs Arcade, you know, you write like support and big challenge, evil force are plotting, you know. So anyway, so that's a bit like we've seen before. So now I'm gonna leave the castle, and at some point, Lord will give you a sailboat, so that you can go to other places than the small island of Andoria. When you fight, the map zooms in where you are. You know, here I have a little monster. Well, I shouldn't have fought him because he just poisoned me, because this is a zombie. But anyway, I attack him with a sling. And the thing is, you can attack them through any angle. You don't have to align. Okay, you don't have to align. You can attack through any angle, and you can keep distance because you're a little faster than the monsters. But still, they still move fast as well. But I can attack them from any angle. And once they're dead, whoops, I can loot, right, the gold, and then I exit the field. I'm gonna have to use a potion because I'm poisoned, purple poison. So now I'm better, and now I can board the sailboat. And as you can see, the zoom here, if I'm gonna fight the orc, it zooms in the ship, zooms in the rift. I'm sorry, whoops, I'm gonna die here. Use potion, yellow. I'm gonna try to run away. Not gonna be easy. Yeah, maybe I can run away here if I'm lucky. You can always run away, but then you lose some cash. The idea was to not to force you to fight. So here, run away, and then you can board the sailboat, but don't go into high sea with the sailboat because later on you're gonna have the vessel. Okay, so then but still you can move a little bit with your sailboat. It moves fast. I don't have to keep clicking. It goes automatically. I just click a key if I want to change. So here I'm slow progress because I'm against the wind that is south. I made it a little less slow than Ultima to have the game have a faster pace. Here I'm visiting another island. It's an island where you find more items. Exit the ship. I don't want to fight the guy. Whoops. I'm gonna flee. I'm getting by the end of what I wanted to show. Anyway,
it looks fantastic. I like your take on this. It's awesome. I'm enjoying watching you play.
Thank you. And just to finish, like I said, I cannot go into the high seas. I can go, but then it's gonna damage my ship. I'm in a 50% condition. And if I keep going to high seas, I'm going to destroy my ship, and then you're just as good as that. Okay, so that's about in this in this demo, you're limited. I don't, although most of it is quite ready, but I still have to write storyline and some other functions that I have to write. But I'm sorry, I'm sad that I'm kind of stuck at work recently. Because I work at Stellantis and it's being like hell, and that is preventing me from moving ahead as fast as I could, because they're demanding a lot of us. It's just getting fun. So there's this island that I call Pure Island, and you get completely lost. And one of the challenges is the island to find a castle that is hidden, because at the beginning it wasn't hidden and pirates attacked. It's the story of the story. The pirates attacked this castle, so they rebuild it elsewhere, and you're supposed to find it, and you get completely lost in this island. So good luck on finding it. That's one of the challenges, that you'll have to find this castle, and you're gonna find orcs all over, So that's one of the challenges of the game. It's already in the demo to find this castle. You can always use clear water to fill in your gourd. And anyway, this is about it. Also, just one video that I wanted to share that I posted on Facebook. Once you get to find a vessel, you can see this video?
Yeah.
Okay, so once you find the vessel, it's not like in Ultima. Your vessel is like some sort of a home, because you can enter the vessel. Like I'm stopping here, and you enter the vessel, and when you're inside your vessel, you can you have a safe where you can save some stuff. Here, the safe here, you can stuff a couple of stuff, and when you go down, you have food and water on the other safes. You get a bed where you can sleep and rest. And there are treasures hidden in the sea, water and food here, as you can see. So there are and if you know what it is, if you find out what it is, you use like a scuba dive, diving suit, and then you can go down the ocean and try to find the safe.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Love it.
Yeah. So
Great.
You got to have sharks, right?
right now there are fish. Just dodge them, and here you're back at your ship. No, that's about what I wanted to show about it. What else I can show? I can show how I kind of did it. I used Excel to do on that. So here I have the disk maps, where I have the DOS. I didn't do my own operational system. I couldn't, So here I have the program code in the disk, like some frame and some stuff. On the second disk, you have the disk map and the castles information, the data, the talkings, and all that. And here I have the memory map, the text page 1, some tables, where the mini map and shadow table, the sprite specs and sprite address, some other informations. So those are the 64K, because I use the RAM card, the language card here, so chat. And all the data tables, they were put in Excel here, mini maps. The only more interesting thing, text, as you can see, some text and some tables in the monsters. And here, those are all the tiles and sprites. Come again?
How much memory do you require?
For the game?
Yes.
64K.
Okay.
Well,
Nice.
the idea of this game was to have it work on an Apple II Plus.
Sure,
I wanted
sure.
the game. Yeah, I wanted a game to work in 1979.
Nice.
And actually even 1977 if you adapt the Apple II to a disk drive. That's all I wanted. I didn't want the game to require like double hard rest or 128K. In my case, I wanted a modest game. And here for every sprite, for every tile, you have whether you can walk on foot, whether you can walk on horse, on a sailboat, whether it casts shadow or not. If it's dynamic, you have like a palm number 1, palm number 2, you have the tree moving. And eventually, if the enemy, the NPC actually can walk through it. And all those specs, they fit in a byte that is calculated here through bits. So with 1 byte, I have the full the spec of a sprite, And this is how it went. And this is how I have all the thing moving. So anyway, I don't know if any of you guys had a chance to look into it, and like in the internet or in Discord.
No, I hadn't, but I'm really impressed. Like keeping it to 64K, which in 77 or 78, you could have had that. I mean, it would be expensive because RAM prices were the real blockage for computers not having more memory. It wasn't until like 83 that RAM prices came down.
Yeah.
I mean, like the Commodore 64 has 64K because it could actually afford to put it in there. So, but then also I know, I mean, I've been constantly impressed with Nox Archaist with doing a tile engine in a bitmap, high res mode is a pretty hard task. Like, I mean, really impressive that you've replicated that perfectly and with speed to boot.
Yeah, and it has to fit and just like three sides, three discs, three floppy disk sides. Like it's one whole floppy disk and maybe one other half for dungeons if I get there. But that's what I wanted, because if you have 2 drives, you don't have to switch disks. Unless you go to the dungeon, you may have to disk 2 or something.
Yeah.
But the idea was that to have very few floppy disk size and to be really quick, and to move fast, to make it more adapted to today's exigence, because people don't have the same patience that they have in the past.
Oh no, no, they don't. Now dungeons, are you going tile based for the dungeons, or are you going 3D, like, which I always
Well, here's the thing. I started. I put it in Facebook, so I'm flapping up. At some point, I started working to it like this. So that would be the idea of the dungeons.
You're not
share your screen again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a second. Where am I? Here we go. Share. There we go. Share.
Okay, 3D.
Nice.
Yeah. Those were the ideas of a dungeon, how it would go, but still under development, to say the truth, But that would be the idea of what the dungeons look like.
Real Pool of Radiance vibes.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that the reason Ultima moved away from 3D dungeons was that it took so much expenditure of resources to make two different interfaces for both the tile-based and then the 3D dungeon. And so they eventually just went, let's just get rid of it and make it all one type.
Well,
So,
yeah, I think they wanted to avoid it being boring, I think.
Yeah.
Well, additionally, the 3D dungeons in Ultima were kind of an accident to begin with. The Akalabeth engine was 3D, and so when Richard made Ultima 1, he was more like taking the Akalabeth engine with the 3D dungeons and adding the tile-based overworld to it. And then that just layered all the way up to Ultima 5. And probably also this part I don't know for sure, but Ultima 6 is where they went to where Origin went to the 3D dungeons, and that was the first Ultima that was not on the Apple II. So that seems like a logical transition point. Whereas with the Apple II, they could just keep reusing the 3D engine code, throw on a new coat of paint, add some bells and whistles. When they're going to a whole new platform to the IBM PC, they would have to be developing that engine from scratch, and then the costs of having two probably really just started to be prohibitive at that point.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, a good 3D dungeon is good. Is it going to have rooms like Ultima 4 did that are unique? That you go into a room and it's going to be like a unique 11 by 11, room with stuff.
You mean in the dungeons?
Yeah, in the dungeons.
Yeah, well, in the dungeon you will definitely face challenges. It's a bit like in Ultima 4. I just wanted to look a little better. And the idea of a 3D dungeon is to change a little bit of the always same view, from above. That I think that was the idea. They did it to make it a little change. And anyway, it's another challenge to have this working properly. But yeah, you will enter into rooms. You'll eventually find items. If everything should work fine.
Yep, and I noticed you're a single player. There's no party.
No, yeah. I wanted, like I said, really wanted to make it simple. First of all, it's 64K, only one floppy disk and a half.
Yeah.
So you can't go too deep. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to make the story faster. For people that don't really today have the same patience to play the game, I think.
No, it makes sense, and also, hey, save it for the sequel, right? So, but yeah, no, the mechanics look good. They're simple. I like the fact that the battle maps are actually bigger than the window, so that you have a lot of room
as well. Very cool.
Yeah, that was an idea that made me think, because Ultima 4 and 5, if you remember, it has 256 times 256 tiles as a whole open world map, which is pretty big. You'd get lost. But that's what I did in this thing is interesting, because what you have is actually a map generator. It generates a map based on when I have 9 tiles, I go to 32 times 32, which is a way bigger, which means and teases that you could if I didn't go back to the normal map, I could keep generating every new tile and have a map something like 30 times bigger than the Ultima 4 map. It would be really, really big because it would not be in the memory. It would be generated based on only one tile that would become like 100 tiles in the total. I don't know if you see if you follow me. I can tell you when if I share again just very fast, to try to give my point.
That's what I did with Realms of Antiquity. The battle maps are completely procedurally generated, so that
exactly like you have the water here, and so I'm gonna let the orc attack me.
We gotta share again.
Share again.
It's not sharing.
Not sharing it.
Okay, here we go. Working.
Yep.
So here, I'm gonna allow the orc to attack me here, and it's going to zoom this part. So indeed, you have water on the left, and then the Tam, and then you get more trees where we saw at the beginning. Up here, more trees. Whoops. And here you get the grass. So where I had, just a couple of tiles, it just replicated the tree here, the water here, and the stuff. So it zooms in those 9 tiles into 32 times 32 tiles, So if I could do that, instead of coming back here, just stay there, then you would definitely have a huge map. It would have been an interesting challenge like in the 80s to have people having to sail or find themselves in a huge map, with some help or whatever, But anyway, that was the idea of this, so that you could you can zoom in where you are. Here, if I'm in the middle of the trees, then I'm gonna meet in the middle of a lot of trees because it's again generated like that. Anyway, that's what I meant. That was the idea.
No, that's really cool. Maps actually kind of remind me a little of Moonring, because Moonring does a similar thing, that it generates the battle maps based on your surrounding tiles, and it's bigger.
Oh, didn't know the game.
Yeah, no, we've had him on a previous roundtable. It's pretty cool. It's a modern day PC game, but it looks like a
I see. Mm-hmm.
So, but no, that's good. And I saw you have both ranged and melee weapons, so that's excellent, because I'm presuming you have ammunition as well. I think I saw you could buy arrows.
No, actually not, because I don't want to bother people, having to find ammunition. So you haven't, like in Ultima 4, you get infinite arrows and stuff like that. And I presume you get them back after you in a battle, whatever. But in fact, you have a sword that will be stronger than the arrows, but you have to get closer and explore yourself.
Yes.
And you're gonna have other items. What I did, it's in there's a site. There's like a site you go in and I explain the story. You get like there is no more magic, because I don't want people to go and mix reagents, and make it long. So you buy potions that emulate the magic, where you can like have tremor bombs, and stuff like that. So this will how it will work. Potions.
That's a good move. And yeah, balancing melee and ranged, especially on a big battle map, is always tricky. You got to make sure ranged isn't so unbelievably superior that there's no reason to go in the melee. Like Ultima 4 really suffered from that. It's like, why even bother equipping melee weapons?
There is what I've seen, like a substantial reluctance by players to do melee combat in these tile games. In Noxarcast, I tried to design the mechanics so that there were incentives for doing the melee style combat, and for the most part, people just ignored them and did ranged anyway. And there's just only so much we can do, I guess. If people want to have, equip a bow for everybody, that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
it was a good move. What I did is, first of all, as you saw, your player is faster. So if you don't want to fight, dodge the enemies, so you're not forced into a fight. And if you happen to be in a fight, you can always run away if you don't want to fight. So that's what I did to avoid things. You can just walk with a little penalty that you lose some gold coins, not to make it too for free.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing, because biggest complaint apparently at some point in the modern CRPG era, they got rid of random encounters and random spawns. Like you play a game like Baldur's Gate 3 and everything's fixed, everything's set.
Yeah.
Once you've cleared an area, there's no more monsters to fight.
So were you getting players that were complaining about random spawning?
They were. They were like, I went through this area already. Why are monsters coming back?
Oh.
I don't like this. You know?
Well, my response would be that's what quick combat is for. Just press Q and bam, it's done.
Yeah, that was a good feature in Dark Arcanist.
You need combat. You need combat so that you can get gold or items. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. Like I pretty much all I did was I reworked in my last patch. I reworked the complete spawn system to make it as easygoing as possible, so that while there is respawn, it's not heavy, and especially in the end game area, because that was their biggest complaint, was the end game was taking too long to play. Because although it turned out, I actually, for a test, I had my guys. I have a couple guys who are like just freaking incredible playtesters. In fact, I'll send them your way when you're ready, because they will play your game backwards and forwards and tell you everything that's wrong, or things that work. But I did a patch where I just disabled random spawn entirely, and he said, "I hate to tell you this, but I kind of liked it."
Too funny.
Yeah, so it was like, yeah, I'm not getting rid of it, but thanks for the input. It's like I just had too many set encounters. That was the issue. And that's, I think, where you're at, Emmanuel, is you're in the actual game design of the quest and all of that. So that's where you definitely want to be careful. If you have random spawn, make sure you don't have too many set encounters too. Like, try to keep it from getting too crazy, because it sounds like you're really wanting to give players the opportunity to get out of combat if they don't want to, which is great.
Actually, the enemies are there, if you want some cash. But if you at that moment you don't want, you try to avoid, and the food and water system is different, because you actually need food, water, and rest. But if you don't have any water and food left, you don't get to die immediately, but you're gonna get sick. With time, your state will go from perfect to good, for average, from bad to really sick, and then eventually you die. But you get time to try to find food, but avoid putting yourself into position, because you will get weaker in combats. So you have to make sure you find some food and water. They go pretty fast. The idea, you got to find a horse to make it go slow. Anyway, that's the idea how to manage the game.
No, that's a good thing. That's like, you don't want to make food and water like crazy. It's not like okay, actually, poison. How does poison work in your game? Is it like Ultima, where it's a death sentence? You're dead man walking and
no, but you will eventually die. A bit like Ultima. But you gotta have a potion. You take the potion and it cures the poison. But if you stay poisoned too long, it will get your hit points and you die. There's gonna be some danger in the world.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I just remember that early Ultimas, it was like, oh, it's 600 gold to cast Cure Poison. And it was like, I don't have that. What is this game doing to me? It's introducing monsters at level 1 that can poison you, and then, it's basically a reload. See,
and Ultima 4,
yeah.
Ultima 4 was the swamp. If you go to the swamp in Ultima 4, you got poisoned. And if you don't have the right spell, you gotta find a place where quick. Anyway, yeah. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening, for viewing that.
No problem.
Really nice work, Emmanuel. It's I really have enjoyed seeing what you've done in the Apple II flavor of RPGs, and particularly I wanted to compliment you on the ability to enter ships and the diving. That's a really neat kind of expansion of the horizon there that we haven't seen yet. That was really cool. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Agreed. It was awesome.
Thank you.
So I see that Tower and Dragon is set for December release, hopefully, knock on wood and all that. Where are you at?
Earlier, but I wanted to give myself time in case anything goes wrong. I'm still waiting on a few things to come in. So far, it looks like I may be able to ship by end of June, but it could easily get extended. And the fact the game's ready is huge. I'm just working on all the structure, putting awards on my website so that it mirrors what Steam is doing, cleaning all that up, making nice front end interface to the emulation.
Yeah. And Emmanuel, so where are you at with I mean, obviously you're doing content generation, which it takes longer than you think. I like I was
Every
amazed.
time you write a new procedure, you break an old one.
Hmm.
It's I've seen a lot of that. It's all working, then you stop something new stuff, it's working, and some old stuff for some reason bugs. And you have to go and fix it. So it's this is really huge work. It's been like a long time. I had to learn machine language and the 6502 assembly on the run, so it was very challenging getting this far. And at this moment, I'm stuck at work, because you guys have heard of like Stellantis, right? That is, some sort of a crisis in the world, the car company. And when a big company is in a crisis, it's hell for the employees. They're asking you to like basically work like 100 hours a week, and it's still not good. And right at this moment, but I also had what Jason said, that sometimes when I released the demo, and they have some bugs, unfortunately, because I had to do it as fast as I could, then you need sometimes a little break, because it's working and developing a game at the same time is a lot on your brain, I can tell you.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and and then it's also like just the content generation. Like you've got the engine, and in fact, your engine looks great. Your engine looks like you're 85% there, right? But then it's like I need to generate interesting content. Like what's the quest here? Is this dungeon balanced? How can I like at this late stage end game stuff is where it's like, how can I like do something that the players haven't like seen before so that they're thrown off because it's not something they've seen in prior.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little
To the challenges.
Yeah, well, it's I understand. Well, again, the idea is to have a game that you don't need. Maybe I can copy the site. If I just copy it's a simple. It's no cities. I can put it in the chat here. Just if you want to take a look at it, and I explained a little bit of the storyline, what happened. It's not to be too surprised. A bit of a cliche, because I want people to enjoy the game and not take like nobody's gonna play an RPG game today, a 8-bit RPG game for a year. I don't think they will. So the game is supposed to take not too long, to finish. Even if it's big, it's not supposed to take too long. So the story is basically you can read like in Neo Cities. I just shared in the chat, and I explained what happened. Like you were invited by Lord Rickard, which is the Lord, to make some alliance and some stuff. And once you get there, it gives you the bad news that your city got attacked and everyone in your city got killed. And now he's gonna help you to seek revenge for about what happened for those who killed your people and your family, your city. And this is where the quest starts. But you can read the details in the New Cities.
Cool. So obviously, here's a good question for both of you. Were you thinking about doing a physical release of your game?
Yeah, here I was with Ben. Bill Martins. He was the one pushing me a little bit at the beginning to go for that. The only thing is, in my particular case, I wanted people to if they want to play the game and not pay anything for it, it's okay. They can download like a digital version, for free, no problem at all. If they want to help the Apple II page, and make a donation of $5 or something, it's okay, but not mandatory. And he wanted to do a physical disc, a physical version, and then we could sell that maybe for $10 or whatever. Why not? A physical disc with a box and stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. What about you, Jason?
Oh yeah, I definitely have physical. You can see the box kind of in the background. This is the prototype
Yeah.
box.
Wow.
Very nice.
That's
I noticed
wonderful.
that artwork was really impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's well, wonderful. Wonderful.
Um, and then you get miniatures. I'll show you the map first. Um, Depending on which set you get, the stitching on the side of the map is different. But this
Beautiful.
is what it looks like. It's pretty nice quality. I think that everyone will like it. And then you also get the miniatures, and I actually painted these. But what you would get with the box set is the unpainted versions. But I wanted to see what they. This is look. The quality's terrible on the monitor,
Yeah.
but kind of gives you an idea. They came out. I'm just thrilled with the quality, of the actual mini.
Very
Uh,
nice. No, my brother paints minis, so
Nice.
yeah, it's it definitely is some work to paint them. I paint these under a magnifying glass. I've painted them
mhm.
since I was a kid, you know. So, uh, but yeah, and then you get disc labels. I did not want to support media. I'm just not equipped. It's just me. So you have to download the disk image or the cassettes and actually record them yourselves. I give fairly detailed instructions on how to do it. Obviously, when I have people that are having trouble, that area will get even larger. But I try to help you along the entire way. Uh, and then for my higher end supporters, I threw in a dice tower. It's not made by me. I found it on Amazon, thought it was really cool, and included it. Let me see if I can get that. So this is the dice tower, and it'll just roll and come out at the
Very
bottom.
cool.
So I figured, you got everything for your Dungeons and Dragons version, because obviously that inspired all these games like Ultima to everything else right at the beginning. There's no question to it. So I figured I'd push it the extra and include that stuff.
No, that's really neat. And I don't blame you on media. I ran into the problem of getting working floppy disks is really hard now. Uh, like I'd buy them on eBay, and the idiots who were selling them like kept them in like a outdoor shed or something. It's like, dudes, they're practically melted together. What the hell? You know? Do you
Yeah.
not get this?
Yeah, it's rough.
What was that? Can you repeat that, Megan?
I just said, yeah, it's rough with
Yeah.
the physical media. We did it for the original Noxer Chaos game, but for the sequel, Noxer Chaos 2 Dragonsmere that we're working on, not going to happen. So
Yeah, it's aside from the copy work is just laborious. I realize now I would have burned my drives out as a kid if I'd tried to do this. Like, but it's also, yeah, just getting enough working discs. I ended up, I had a guy who actually donated a bunch of discs to me that I was able to salvage. But even then, it's like touch and go. It's like, okay, is this one going to format? Yes,
yeah,
no, no. So,
Sure.
yeah, I came into a supply through a contact on the first game. He had bought like pallets of government surplus floppy disks from like 15 years ago, It was probably when the U.S. government was changing over the missile silo computers or something, and finally getting them off floppy. I don't know that for sure, but it's just a fun speculation.
Hmm.
And so he had the foresight to buy like a couple pallet loads of them. And so I was able to get thousands of discs. And if it wasn't for that, I don't know what we would have done. But of course, he's long since used all those up on with various projects. And the problem I was finding with eBay, um, in addition to like what you were talking about, Adam, is just the wide range of quality, is that most of what was being sold were essentially the kind of discs that a person would buy in the 1980s. And so it's going to have a Maxell label on it or a Memorex label on it or some
Mhm.
manufacturer. These are I was never really through eBay able to find like pristine black no label discs with a white sleeve with no ink on the sleeve for some logo or something. And I thought, well, that's just not going to look good if we snap an Oxford KS label over a 3M label or a Maxell label or something like that. That's just going to look awful. And then the sleeves to have some manufacturer logo on there, and so that really dissuaded me from even wanting to mess with it. And it sounds like, Adam, we both lucked out as far as coming into a honeypot of discs, but um, those are just kind of like one-time events, and you certainly can't count on that happening.
No, and because floppy disks, aside from no longer being manufactured, they're one of those few products you can't 3D print that. Like the old cartridges for the TI, they can make new cartridge holders. They can make the cases, they can 3D print them. In fact, a guy is making them actively. And so that's not a problem. But floppy disks, no, you can't. If someone's not making them, you're screwed.
Oh, and
So,
and with mine, it's going back to tape cassette. And a lot of these old models, like I know mine doesn't run at rated speed, the actual tape player. So mine's recorded at some weird hybrid speed, And Lord, I couldn't imagine supporting all the different tape cassettes. If someone records it on their system, then it's made for their system, and I have less of an issue. But man, there's just no way I could support both tape cassette and disc yet. It'd kill me, So
yeah, yeah. I mean, now on a slightly different subject, I would say one of the things I went to the Vintage Computer Fair in Tukwila a month or so ago because they finally had another Vintage Computer Fair. It was way more people there than I expected. I was actually impressed and it was like a donation only. They weren't even charging for tickets or anything. But I met my friend, arcade shopper, Greg McGill, and one of the things he told me was that Realms of Antiquity actually drove sales of the Sam's card, which it requires because it's a memory card that gives the TI the memory it needs to actually do something. Um, he said that he basically it was a killer app for the hardware.
Oh, that's
I was
awesome.
like, I was like, oh. Well, that's cool because I mean, when I first released the game, they only had like a peripheral expansion box card. Now they have multiple sidecars that don't require the box because there's not many of those. And so I was like, if I do a sequel, I should probably make it for another piece of hardware we want to drive sales up.
I mean, that must be
Oh,
a
there
really
you
good
go.
feeling.
That's awesome.
So
It's
speaking
like,
of,
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. I was going to say, speaking of floppies back in the day, so I did produce a bunch of games for the color computer back in the 80s, and my business partner and I would uh, buy floppies, 5 1/4 floppies in boxes of 500 at a time. And so by coincidence, my old partner Dave sent me a message just a couple of days ago saying, "Hey, I found this old box of floppies in the attic. Do you want it?" "Oh, yes, yes, I do. Yes, I do want that." So hopefully, I hope to come into a cup, a good set of them soon. And
nice.
coincidentally, the floppies right here, these drives, those are the ones with which we produced the actual shipping games back in the 80s. That's the
Oh,
actual
nice.
hardware. Yeah, they still work.
No,
I
that's
have
awesome.
half a dozen other ones as well in a box, so that don't work quite so well.
Very cool. All right. What to discuss now?
Linoleum,
Talk about
perhaps?
go ahead, Jeff.
I said linoleum, perhaps? We have been here a while.
Lead it to the linoleum. We are impressed, as always. No, what I was going to say is we can talk about bandits that Jeff was suggesting earlier, and how we each have approached or decided not to approach that classic RPG trope.
All right, well, I'll get started on that. I mean, bandits pretty much they're in Dungeons and Dragons too, but in various forms. But they're a good monster encounter because they're humanoids. They're not like anything controversial. It's like they're thieves, they're bandits, thugs. They want to kill you, they want to take your stuff. So you're gonna fight them, and it's all okay. There's no moral issues here, you know. um, and then they're also a
Yep.
source of gold as well as maybe weapons and other things. So overall, they're a great encounter. Um, and depending on your setting, of course, in Realms of Antiquity, it's kind of an empire that's fallen to pieces. So naturally, there's going to be a lot of bandits around. So, and then like another area of the game, I have rebels who are pretty much the same thing because they're rebelling against the local dictator. So, so overall, useful monster if you want to avoid getting too copying Ultima or copying Tolkien, orcs everywhere. Nothing wrong with that. Just if you want to try to make the game a little bit more your own, it's always nice to have that.
I included bandits on a mountain zone where a town was ransacked by all kinds of invasion. And obviously, bandits, it's a perfect use for them. And they're part of that big blitz on the town, and you have to fight tons of them. I believe they're only in one zone, but I've got other things like you were mentioning, but like protectors, for example, that are protecting the high ones that are deeper in, that sort of thing. But the bandits, you definitely have no moral issue with. You know they're there, and you're mad when you see the town is razed.
No, very nice. Jeff, you want to go?
I was just going to say it. I think an important point with bandits, at least for my own satisfaction, is that they really need to be tied into the story somehow, justified somehow. And I know that some of your bandits, Adam, are key key story elements, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh, pirates too.
pirates too, and smugglers.
Yep.
Yeah, I will have I have a script written for Mythfera that features pirates, but it's the quest wherein you unlock a fast travel mechanic. So they're quite important to the storyline.
Nice. What about you, other Adam?
I do have bandits. Banditry is useful. Also, just because was a real world is a real world phenomenon. It is useful to have some of the enemies out there being humans rather than just mad science abominations or mad wizard, I suppose. As is the backstory for a awful lot of the monsters that wander around my world. The bandits, the the game starts with a civil war threatening to break out, and the bandits, the spawners for the bandits. I have specific spawners in locations around the world rather than like setting it up in a grid and saying in this section these things spawn or whatever. Um, and the bandits will all emanate from uh, this city, that one of the cities that's in rebellion near there generates bandits, and then there's a dungeon up in one of the corners that the bandits have found and cleared out the first level for their own use, and they spawn from there as well. Um, Once they spawn, they will start following the roads. So you can find them basically anywhere on the map, but they'll all have come from those locations originally. They won't get too close to any of the cities because they're, afraid to. That didn't work for a long time, and I had to rewrite it recently. But like I had this code is like monsters would not approach within 3 steps of a city. Great. And then every now and then I would see like a snake 1 step from the city. And I'm like, how did you get there? I don't know which. I never figured out which piece of which possible movement algorithm, move away, move back towards spawner, which one was not checking that. So I just gave up and rewrote it. But yeah, so my problem at the point that I had my first round of beta testers go through, the initial bandit spawns were too strong. They were the thing that you had the most trouble with if you ran into them at level 1 or level 2. So I had at their recommendation, I tuned down how many monsters can appear. I do the standard Ultima 4 or 5 zoom into a combat map, and there's one thing on the world map, and then it's actually 7 of those things or whatever, and so now it can only be a factor based on your character level, so you can't get swarmed. But as you do progress, the bandit groups not only get larger but more types in here. Like some of them will wind up being accompanied by like a bard that can heal them, or little things like that. And it's not the only humanoid enemies that I have wandering around, but it's the early ones. They will try to steal from you and run off with your money. They are jerks. Unlike many games that do that, if you kill them, they are always guaranteed to still have on them the money they took from you. I always found it to be frustrating when, bandit steals 40 gold and then you kill it and he's got 15 gold in loot. It's like, did he already spend it on ale while we were fighting? What happened here? So, But,
No, that's a good move. And yeah, I know in Realms of Antiquity, I have monster allies, so that if you have like a bandit captain, he has a chance of spawning a rogue sorcerer companion, so that it gives the bandit fight just a little bit more interest when you can have like a mix of things.
yeah, a little
So
spice.
Megan?
Very cool. Yeah, so bandits. I did a couple of things along this line. One is through pirates, which we kind of touched on as being like a bandit derivative. Pirates play a pretty substantial role in Noxer Chaos. They're part of kind of the main quest line. They're not like the main quest line, but they're involved kind of along the way. There's like a pirate cove village that you can find, and it's like a little town that's run by pirates, and you can talk to different pirates, to a pirate captain, and that all kind of ties in with some quests and things. And then also at the beginning of the game, bandits did make an appearance. I mean, I can be at times very traditional about CRPGs, and to me, I feel like, well, when you start the game, you should have a quest to go, like clear out the orc chieftain and go deal with some bandits. And I mean, that's just all like good starting material, in my mind, and so I thought, well, why change what seems to work with the formula? But what I did add is I added a little bit of nonsense to it. So the bandits in the beginning, I called them rabble rousers, and the idea or the kind of premise behind it was that it was like they would only spawn like near towns, and the rabble rousers were supposed to be like, well, these were some guys that had a few too many drinks at the pub and just wandered out of the town and started randomly harassing travelers, that kind of thing. And we tried to represent that in the graphics. Let's see if I can do a little screen share here quick. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Apple II graphics, of course, imagination is key, and two people can look at the same thing and see two different things. But the icon on the right here, that's a rabble rouser. And what Bill Geege, our artist, tried to do was put a sword in one hand and a beer mug in the other hand. And when the rabble rouser swings the sword, he kind of spills the beer a little bit. So that's oh no, how do I get out of the screen share?
Love it.
Love it.
That's great.
Excellent.
And then we also have hooligans, which essentially are intended to be like a slightly more organized band of rabble rousers. They got good at it and decided like, well, let's make this our occupation, and those are encountered a little bit later, but still beginning-ish of the game. So yeah, that's what we did with bandits.
Nice. We got bandits there in Andoria.
Well, we'll need to first have Andoria ready.
Well, how many unique monsters do you have in the game so far?
In Andoria, I have about, I'm trying to remember, not too many actually. I can just check here in the database because I can't recall. Well, monsters, I have actually 16 types of monsters.
No, that works. But you don't need that many for a single player game. I mean, plus
no, actually. Well, there are always some limitations on how many things you can put in a 64K game.
Yeah, and there's a difference between storing it like in memory, or are you storing it on disk and only loading it when you need it. Like that's what I do with ROA. Is the monsters data is all in a disk file.
Yeah, they're stored in memory.
Yeah. If you store in memory, then it's a little more limiting. So
no.
But it also has the advantage you don't have to worry about a disk access slowing it down whenever.
Well, one thing interesting I can maybe share quick is how I did every tile in Sprite and Monster.
Oh,
pretty quick. I can do that. Just quick. See the screen?
Yep.
Well, this is the sea, the trees, mountains, borders, with water. Right? And now there goes the monsters. I'm going to zoom it out a bit to give a better idea. This is myself, the horse, ships, and they're translated from bit to bit to make the byte and the line that goes into the memory. It sounds odd in the Excel, but this is how it translates. And the monsters, they're all at the bottom. They're not all totally ready yet. Here I have a couple of NPCs, fireworks, and here goes the monster: the orcs, zombies, giants, orcs, and others. Well, when you put them in real low zoom, you see them better. You have a better idea what they look. I'll try to zoom a little less. You see that?
That's
Slimes.
fantastic. Love it. It's awesome.
I love that you did this in Excel as well. I used Excel for the pixel editor tool in the original Extra game, and for the sequel, Extra Chaos 2, I'm developing something more robust for the pixel editing and other tools. But I really loved Excel as just kind of like a really quick down and dirty way to implement the Apple II Pixel editor, and still, compared to doing the bitmaps on graph paper like were done in the old days, doing it in Excel is an enormous leap forward in terms of efficiency and productivity.
Totally.
So yeah, cool. Glad to see I'm not the only one who did that.
Yeah, I wonder about Ultima. When I say Ultima 4, I remember it took them 2 years and a half to have the game ready. I think there were 4 people working on that. And what I wonder, if anyone knows, how many hours a week did they work having to do this the old-fashioned way? Anyone has an idea?
This is before they became really a big company, and then they started their whole, 60-hour weeks at crunch time stuff.
Yeah,
So
this would
they
be
were a little more casual.
This would be like the New Hampshire period.
Yes, when they were up in New Hampshire.
But like, did they actually? Because when I see all they had to do was a normal, maybe I had like 2 or 3 Apple II to make it faster, but still having to do that on a real Apple II, a game like Ultima 4, I think those guys worked 8 hours a week. I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, a lot of time to be sure. I'm not sure the exact amount though.
Maybe. This was really amazing what they did, like at the time. Because like you said, we have Excel and we have the emulator that debugs a lot of things. So you have a bug, you look at the emulator, what memory address did it crash, and you can find out what happened. At that time, it freezes. What you gonna do? You don't know anything. You don't know what it stucks. You have to dig deeper. It's complicated without
And
a
back in the
debugger.
day, you couldn't get feedback from your playtesters, like just like that, right? Like they couldn't send you an email; they had to send you a postcard. Actually, I had that trouble with RPG I wrote back in the 80s. I stumbled across a YouTube video of somebody who's playing it recently, and they didn't get very far before it crashed horribly, and it was a bug I didn't know existed.
Oh wow, Seventh Link.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, Forrest actually found a lot of bugs in my demo. Some of them I sort of knew, but a couple of them I didn't know. And he found he's a real pro beta tester. He just went everywhere, and tested everything. And he said, well, there's a little problem here on the tags, a little problem there, and the guy's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, all my development, even though I have a great the Classic 99 emulator is perfect for emulating the TI. I've never had an issue where it worked in the emulator but not on the hardware. Like, I had a couple times where I thought that was the case, but it turned out I was just being stupid because it had the old hardware wipes the memory, or it doesn't necessarily have zeros everywhere when in uninitiated memory. It can have other data. So you have to always treat everything like if you want to make sure it's all zeros, you need to clear it first. So but yeah, I did. Funny enough, half my tools are still actually on the TI, like my map editors and my monster graphic editors. They're all on the actual TI because I wanted to be able to see them on a CRT monitor to correct for the NTSC fuzz. Because the old TI screen, it looks awful. that there's a lot of blur and there's a lot and weird things happen the colors when they're side by side that you can't anticipate. Like I remember I had like blue and yellow on 2 separate vertical lines, and yet it still made it look green. The yellow got a green tinge to it as a result. So but yeah, no, and then I did then the other half of my tools I wrote in C# so that I could just auto generate binaries from it, and I benefit from the fact that the TI's file system is 100% compatible with the Windows file system, other than the fact it doesn't have directories and all that. But I was basically able to, I'm actually able to work with everything directly and just copy files over Wi-Fi to my TI because it has this neat Raspberry Pi system that mimics the entire disk system, as well as providing Wi-Fi options. So I'm able to like just turn around. That's the key. When you're a developer, you need quick turnaround so that you can fix bugs fast.
I agree. That was huge for this effort, and that's why I chose and got Wi-Fi working on that thing as fast as possible.
Mhm. Plus, mucking with disk images is a real pain in the neck. I don't know, half the solutions out there require you to convert it to a disk image. It's like, ugh. All right. Are we all talked out?
Was
So I
nice.
got go ahead. Go ahead. I have a far out idea. I don't know how valid it is, but I was thinking of keeping my game engine as it currently is, but putting the front end interface as a 3D Godot interface. Okay. And basically have the front end or the back end drives the front end. I don't know if that's valid. People would be interested in that. But it seemed like a fun project and probably way too time consuming. But that's what I end up doing. But
Interesting idea for sure. And would the general idea be that it would be kind of modernizing the interface, but keep the core of the game loop and mechanics intact?
yeah, exactly. It would have a beautiful front end interface, like what you would see with if you were playing, like, for example, Secret of Mana on a PS5. Okay. I mean, the current version of Secret of Mana with their full 3D, it's still a kind of a perspective view looking down into it, but you can tell that it's full 3D. So that actually is what inspired me to even think this direction, but have the core all still the exact same code. So there wouldn't be one byte modified of the actual game code, other than I could potentially override, just turn off the display portion because it doesn't need it. It can just, the front end Godot engine could peer into that memory area and see where all the monsters are and see what the map is and display something beautiful.
Well, ultimately, I think it would make the game more accessible,
Mhm.
because there's only so many people that are willing to go all the way back, to the kind of graphics that are in Nox or Chaos, let alone from an even earlier area on the pet in Tower and Dragon. There certainly are some, but I mean, I've seen just over the course of time since Nox released that that community exists, and then there's like a broader CRPG community that seems to be more anchored in like 1990s era or even a little beyond. And to them, to go back even to Nox or Chaos, let alone the Apple II, let alone to the Pet, is almost a bridge too far. It's a bridge too far for some, and for others, they'll like step out onto the bridge and then complain about it. So they're like, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? And it's like, well, no, but the point was to do it like this, and if you want to play it, great. So yeah, I think there's a broader audience out there that can be attracted when well, essentially when you remaster the game. That's actually the other comparison I was going to mention is like the Bard's Tale remaster series of Bard's Tale 1, 2, and 3. That was very successful, and it kept the core game um content and logic, but gave it a fresh coat of paint with the graphics, modernized sound, modernized UI. You can use the mouse. Um, Yeah, I mean that's and I'm extrapolating a bit in terms of like assuming that this is the sort of thing that you have in mind if you were to do a Godot implementation for Tower and Dragon, but yeah, I just see it as something that's going to widen the audience and make it more accessible.
Interesting. Yeah, and I know what you're talking about. I mean, you look at a game like, and I don't know how many of you know it, but Stardew Valley is just ridiculously successful. Yet it's all pixelized graphics, and it's a farming game basically, and he keeps adding to it, and he keeps his clientele and grows new client. I mean, it's made on every I mean, it's made for computers as well as like PlayStation, whatever.
It runs on my car.
Well, there you go.
Not
Exactly.
kidding. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'll go there, but I'm toying it, and right now I'm hoping I don't get hit with the bug. But I said that with 4.0 as well. So who knows?
I thought for a moment you were going to propose doing a VR version of Tower and Dragon, where like you're in front of an actual simulated Commodore PET, and you get to hit the keys and play it like old school style. That would be
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I mean, as you mentioned, I mean, the PET is limited not only in the fact that you're dealing with PET ski because there's no real graphics on that old system, but you're also in black and white. And I know that's gonna, I mean, the amount of people that would be interested in playing it is very low. And so then I started thinking I would love to make a C64 version, but if I were spending that kind of time, or an Apple II version, if I were spending that kind of time, should I try the Godot 3D, go for it, approach? I don't know. It's an odd idea.
I think it'd be a great experiment.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how it work out.
I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, sounds great. I look forward to hearing about it if you try it.
well, I think anything else anyone wants to discuss, bring up, ask a question.
It was really nice. Well, nice talking to you guys. I was really happy to show my project to people that showed an interest on it. So thank you very much, for the attention. And it was really enjoyable to see your projects and what you do. So I'm really happy about this night. So really good. Thanks a lot to you guys.
Agreed. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. I certainly appreciate it. I'm quite proud of it. It's a massive effort. So thank you.
Well, Emmanuel and Jason, you're welcome, and thank you for joining the group and taking the time to show us what you're working on. And we're definitely have enjoyed seeing what you had to share.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right. Well, then, if there's nothing else, we can adjourn. Thank you, everyone, for watching and making it to the linoleum, if you did. And we will see you all next time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Don't mind me. I'm desperately coding as we talk.
As it should be.
Yeah, I saw you were working with sound, and I remember like on the
Yes.
Coco, doesn't all the sound have to be done by the CPU?
Yeah. Yeah. There's no
Fine.
help at all.
Oh,
Yeah. So on the Coco, there's a 6-bit digital to analog converter. And that 0 to 63 number sets the position of the loudspeaker itself. So if you want to draw a sine wave, you got to write out the values that move the speaker back and forth like that. So the only way to do it really is to have and at least they give you a variable interrupt rate. And so you run an interrupt and you set the speaker on the interrupt. And the rest is up to you.
Okay, yeah, no, I remember playing with my brother's Coco, and he had like a music thing, and it could do up to 4 voices, which was
Yeah, yeah, you
impressive.
can. Yeah, so
But
in yeah,
I
in
mean, it's
Mythfair,
always
I've
very
got
soft, though, I noticed.
Hey guys,
very
can you hear
soft.
me okay?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Excellent.
Do you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, good. Excellent.
And I've got a doppelganger of me so that if I want to screen share, I can.
That's what that is.
Oh.
Okay.
And then it looks like Golden Flame said he's just finishing up his hasty breakfast and will be momentarily with us. And I think that'll be the whole group at that point.
Great.
Can anybody hear a violin in the background?
I can't.
Oh, good, good, yeah. I told my wife that my microphone could not pick up her violin as she practices, and apparently it can't. So good. Oh, that's what I was going to do. Turn on my Coco.
Yes, more computers, more old computing power.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and I just
Magnavox
just-
monitor right there.
and I'm just going to hope that it doesn't blow a capacitor while we're.
Hi, Golden Flame.
Hello.
Everybody. Unfortunately, my old computer is not visible on my webcam direction. But I'm also not using it for anything, so it's less important.
But we can see your swords though, so I mean that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's funny, I work for a consulting company that works, our clients are law firms, and so I'll have Zoom calls with lawyers, and every single time over this past year it has gotten briefly like mid-sentence, wait a minute, is that, and I'm like, this is why I don't blur my background, because I get an entertaining response every goddamn time.
Nice.
I don't blur my background just because, well, I'm lazy and okay, yeah, the office is a mess. I'm not
Yeah.
ashamed.
I actually made my bed for once, I figured we're recording.
Cool. So let's see. I think everybody who said they were going to join has joined. And like we talked about, we kind of want to give the main focus of this to Emmanuel and Jason to talk about their projects, and beyond that, we can just kind of wing it, BS, whatever. I think Jeff had suggested a possible question to talk about bandits. But before we do that, and at this point we haven't like started the official recording that'll be in the start of the episode. But once we do get into the official recording, it's been a while since we've done this. Do we usually like go around and everybody give a quick introduction?
Usually, yeah. Usually, we'll do a quick intro of each person. So,
All right. So, well, it sounds like we've got some semblance of a plan. We'll see.
Yeah, give me this. I want to see if I can figure out, remember how to change my name in this thing.
Yeah, for me, I'm on a Mac, but it might be the same in Windows. So there's like a three dot in the upper right hand corner, like a three dot menu, and if I click on that in the drop down,
there's a rename option. Yeah. Like, I can do that.
Yeah, because I use this for uh, uh, I have regular Zoom meetings and or other circumstances, so no, that's not right. Yeah, there's a more with 3 dots in the bottom right for my version on Windows. I'm not seeing.
Well, if you go up to your picture up at the top, um,
Aha!
and do the
There's
three
some
dots
dots in
there.
there.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you. There it is.
I mean, I'm always on Windows. I'm kind of surprised, honestly, that like the Mac guys are worse than the Windows guys. Like at work, it's like the Mac guys are all contemptuous of Windows and think that nobody can develop on them. I'm like, why are you so worked up about this? You know?
And the other way around, of course.
I use both. I think they each have their advantages and disadvantages, and just depends on what I'm doing.
As a kid,
I
I was
have
much
to
more
admit,
contemptuous because I was a Commodore person and my friend was an Apple II person. But
Mm.
I've grown out of that, which I'm sure Megan is thankful for.
Oh,
I have to
don't even
admit,
get me
oh,
started
sorry.
on the 99ers and Commodore, man.
I'm
Once
sure.
I started asking questions on like the old Yahoo group, and some guy got all like, "If you want a Commodore so much, why don't you go buy one?" And it's like, dude, 20 years ago. Well, get over it.
Yeah, that's funny that there's like still that going on. Cool. All right. Are we all set? Ready to go?
Let me go. I gotta go check. I was making some coffee. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh yeah, my coffee's all the way over there.
This time
I
it's
have to
me.
admit to having worked on Windows these last 30 years, so I'm a little bit biased, I guess.
My first the first computer I ever touched was an Apple II. Okay. However, the first computer I had at home was actually a Coco One,
Ah,
uh, and it's the
me
machine that
too.
helped me learn BASIC on the hard way because when it came, I bought it from a teacher, and the tape recorder for some reason never worked. So I couldn't load any game, anything like that. I had to try to do them myself. And it helped me a lot. I had to really persevere in that. It helped me a lot learning and improving my basic until I switched to Apple II once I was able to convince Daddy to buy one, which was really expensive.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't even have a tape drive originally for my Coco, so if I wanted to do anything, I'd type it in.
Yeah, same. Well,
Didn't
at the end
didn't
was same, but so it was a lot of work, And I was amazed by how this computer was solid because I had a game written. I didn't want to shut down the computer to lose my game that I wrote, so I lived sometimes like a whole week without turning it off, And it
Yeah.
never had any problem.
Well, this is a 40-year-old Color Computer 3 running here,
Yeah, this is
and
a 3. This is a much more
still
modern
working.
one. Yeah, it is definitely. It's very modern.
Yeah, no, they what was it? I mean, TI machines are renowned for being like resilient. Like my original console ran for 38 years and until something finally broke in it and but I have tons of spares. So but like meanwhile Commodore you can't get the original 1983 model at all. They all have burned out. You can get the bread
Oh,
box, the 86 reissue, but the original 83 ones, I even opened one up once in computer lab and found out they had cardboard RF shielding. Like it's like, there might be some truth to the myth that they caught on fire.
well, I think the Apple II Plus had a lot of problems as well. I guess the Apple II Plus, the Apple IIe was more stable. But like in my country, I had a clone of an Apple II because that's an old long story. I won't go into detail. But in Brazil, it was forbidden to import a computer at that time due to the law that was created by the military regime. The most moronic law ever made, but anyway, they did it. So all they did is a couple of guys gathered in a room and they decided to clone an Apple II. It took them 2 years to clone an Apple II Plus, but they were very, very unreliable, due to maybe the quality of the components. So you always had problems and had to get fixed. And when I saw that first Coco one at home, I said, "Well, my this thing never crashes." And the Apple II that I have, and at school they had also clones. I had no other choice. At the first school actually that I did, and many of them were always, breaking up. So that's what I remember.
I mean, yeah, it's something that a lot of vintage computer enthusiasts forget is that old hardware didn't run well. Like, a friend of mine had a Commodore. That thing locked up after 1 hour every single time I used it. Like, it didn't matter what I was doing, it would just lock up after an hour of operation.
Wow, well, what did it heat or something?
It's got to be heat, and they had it in an open area. It wasn't like it was confined or anything. So it was the machine itself just had some issue. So
Yeah, well, they sold millions of those things. I don't believe they could at that time do the proper quality control.
oh
You know,
no, Jack Trannell didn't give a crap about
yeah,
it.
they were selling those things for like $200, like in 1984, I guess already.
Mhm.
It's so okay. It's a brilliant cost project, but they couldn't possibly have the
So
right.
the computer in the background that you see there, that's 48 years
Path.
old. And
Mhm.
I
Oh,
replaced the electrolytic capacitors, because I didn't want to risk it. It's, a relic at this point. And I had to just work on the tape cassette system until it worked. That it took quite some time, but it didn't require anything but the belt to be replaced in electrolytics. But
Mhm.
one memory chip was bad, and that's pretty much it. Um, yeah, it had roots growing in it. So, I did a full restore, including paint with, adding the bump texture to everything else on it.
no, it looks solid, man. Looks good.
Thank
Yeah,
Uh,
it's
you.
beautiful.
and
It's really beautiful.
yeah, Commodore PET was, I mean, say what you will, they made a beautiful machine.
No, yeah, it was, yeah.
That was, by the way, that model you have there, Jason. I think that's probably the same model I first got of the first computer I ever got my hands on was the sort of chiclet keyboard with the uh, with the tape drive built in.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely taught me a lot. I
Mm.
think I got it around 12 years old, and it pretty much started my programming career.
Yeah. And you deal with that keyboard well?
Well, at the time, I mean, I just started. In fact, I learned how to type on it. So, it
Mhm.
was more, I think, two fingers to start with, and started like this, and then eventually it was all crammed in,
You didn't
But,
get any tendinitis.
but
Yeah, that's probably
uh,
been the most painful lesson of vintage to modern I've had is the TI keyboard is like not as it's doesn't have like you do like a function P to do quotes rather than have a separate quote key and stuff like that. And biggest problem I had was people not going from I needed in future games TI or PC keys because the emulator translates the different keystrokes pretty well, but like guys could never understand that F9, like function 9 on the TI is the back key, which is essentially the escape. So they would why does escape and F9 do the same thing? you know, and they kept accidentally reloading the game rather because I had that as a load, as a reload, load current save option. It was like that was a mistake. like so in the future I'm going to do like okay, set to either TI mode or PC mode. In PC mode we're going to like make sure that the modern guys don't get all bent out of shape because things don't behave the way they expect. So